Wii Sports, a motion-based tech demo to show off the Wii's hardware. It was the Wii's #1 best-selling game by a landslide. Definitely not because it was bundled with the console, so of course it got a sequel with the Wii Sports Resort. More sports, bigger scale, and upgraded controls, and those were the only 2 Wii Sports games released on the Wii. The hype around motion controls quickly faded and is mostly just used for gyro controls nowadays, so there shouldn't be a reason for any kind of follow-up, right? Right, that'll never happen. But just in case it does, let's start at the beginning to understand what made the first 2 games so great. Before the Wii came out, Nintendo wasn't in the best spot. Their current console, the GameCube, is their second lowest performing home console ever, and at that point was the biggest failure since their arcade days. If only they knew what the future held. Their handhelds, the Game Boy Advance and DS, were performing much better and were basically the only things keeping the company afloat. But these were by no means powerful. Just look at Mario 64 DS compared to the original. These games were released 8 years apart. It was impressive for a handheld, but Nintendo could do so much more with home consoles. But with their rivals PlayStation and Xbox having much more capable hardware, what could they ever do? Yeah, I guess that'll work. Nintendo realized with the DS that there was a huge untapped market with the casual crowd. Yes, including tobacco addicts. This is made obvious by the fact that Brain Age was the system's 4th best-selling game. And Nintendogs, it outsold Mario Kart. People saw the DS as more of a mini PC, and I think Nintendo really leaned into this. Sure, you can browse the internet, and maybe down the road pick up a Mario game or 2. So when making the Wii, Nintendo was heavily emphasizing the aspect of anyone being able to play. And what better way to demonstrate this than a tech demo? But what would it be about? Well, here's a follow-up question. What thing does everyone know about? Why, sports, of course. And thus, Wii Sports was born. Due to its tech demo status and being a launch title, this game was bundled in with most Wii consoles, meaning that almost every Wii owner had a copy of this game. People would go over to a Wii owner's house just to play this game. I'm sure they were glad to have some company over for once. Hello? 911? Yeah, someone broke into my house. No, they're not stealing anything. They're just playing on my Wii. Hello? The game's motion controls and a simple premise made it easy to understand for anyone who played, really boosting the Wii's sales through the roof. Anyone could get in on the action, even Grandma. Fly high, Grandma. Fly high. The Wii's simple character creator also added a lot of customization and expressiveness to the game, giving it what would soon become the classic Wii series charm. It wasn't very in-depth, and many of its options no one would ever use, but these are Mii's. They're iconic. How could anyone hate them? We'll talk more about Mii hate groups later, but I've given this game enough baseless praise. It's time to give it some fair criticism the only way I know how. Ranking each of its sports on a scale from 1 to 10. Yeah, this video is only half video essay. Up first is tennis, probably the easiest game to play. Oh crap, I take it back. All you gotta do is swing the Wii remote to hit the tennis ball. That's it, no fancy positions or anything. The simple layout and somewhat bland setting makes this the most tech demo-y sport in the bundle, but that doesn't mean there's some pretty good attention to detail and Easter eggs in here. I really liked how the more you played, the more people stood in the stands to watch you play. And look at these setups. I quick serve, they return, my guy goes flailing for it, and it's out anyways. Despite its simplicity, I definitely spent the most time in this one, and I definitely got riled up at a few points. But I think I mostly just kept playing to level up to get to more skilled opponents, cause lower tier ones are not good at all. I basically just played until I got an actual good matchup. Probably because most early teams only use their backline and not their frontline. Based on ease of play, environment, and just how much fun it is, I think this game lands itself a solid 6.5 out of 10. And if that sounds kinda high or kinda low, it gets much, much lower. But that's later, because now it's time for baseball. The only sport that lets you use more than one of your custom Miis in single player. Do it like you do a paintbrush. I knew Bob Ross had it in him, dude. The controls are basically the same, just swing the remote to hit the ball, but now you have to do a silly little baseball stance. There's probably some way to do it, but I just feel like I can't control where the ball goes. Like, it's just swinging a Wii remote. There's not much I can do. Instead of having the player run the bases in real time, it calculates how long it takes for a catcher to get a ball, and then it does something, and that's how many bases you've rounded. And if you strike out, you get to pitch. Seems pretty simple. You just swing the Wii remote, and oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Okay, let's say it isn't a home run, but they still hit the ball. You just get to watch as your characters slowly run up and get it. I don't know if shaking the Wii remote helps or something, but it just makes you feel really powerless. Also, I have no clue how they calculate how well your pitch does, because I just swung my arm around in circles and I did just fine. And these matches drag on for so long. And it's only 3 innings, not 9 innings like normal baseball. I played and won one full game, and I only got like 76 experience points for it. I do not want to grind this game. 6 out of 10. Next up was bowling, and as per tradition, I had to do it. Alright, now we can start. In my opinion, bowling is probably one of the more impressive sports in the collection. It never really feels like the game messed up, the physics just feel right. But to be clear, I am just talking about the physics. It is really hard to get a perfectly straight throw so the ball doesn't curve. I like the addition of the lineup system, but it's kinda unrealistic. If I go bowling, I'm always gonna go straight on, no going to either side or anything. But it's so funny how the game overplays you getting a strike. It's just like a real bowling alley. Thank you, I needed to see my victory from every shot you possibly could muster. I also love how there's games going on in the lanes beside you and they also have realistic physics. It is a bit weird that there's a level system beyond just high score, since you're not competing against anyone, so what does Pro do? It puts stars on your ball. What a goal worth fighting for. I still think this is one of, if not the best sports in the collection. Easy 8 out of 10. Next up we have golf, one of the most boring sports of all time in video game form. I chose expert because I'm no wuss. The key to this sport is precision. Straight shots, no curves. Dang it. I never really got this sport. I know you're supposed to have your Wiimote remote straight while swinging, but no matter what I did, it always messed up. And then wind speed tries to budge in while I'm still just trying to hold my remote straight. And then you also have to control how hard you swing. I already have enough to deal with. But I'll admit, it is one of the prettiest sports in the package, so I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Boxing time, one of the best sports in the collection. Hands down, might outdo bowling. Like, look at these silly knockout animations. Who could not love this game? The first NPCs you fight, as per usual, are super easy. You can get KOs within the first round. I also love the environment. It feels like I'm in some secret underground boxing ring that has $1 million for LED screens. But this sport does have one glaring issue: the controls. For your first few matches, you can just shake them really fast and win every time. But in later matches, you are gonna need to actually try and use controls properly, which can be hard because they're kinda garbage here. The Wii remote really didn't help much, so most of the time I only used the nunchuck. It can also be pretty hard to aim where your hits will land. And don't even get me started on dodging. So while it might not be the best program sport, it is definitely one of the most fun and funny sports in the collection. 8 out of 10. Overall, Wii Sports was a pretty good sports game for the time, especially as a mere tech demo. But you know what soured that experience? The Wii remote itself. It's not that the shape is bad or anything, it's just that it can be a bit finicky. At times it would lose track of where it was, which could really throw off gameplay. Its unresponsiveness also didn't help how hollow this thing felt while swinging around. Nintendo realized that if they improved upon the remote's motion controls, they could have the potential to make much better games based around it. Like the Garfield show, Threat of the Space Lasagna. So in June of 2009, almost 3 years after Wii Sports' initial release date, they released this thing. Man, this doesn't fix anything. It feels even worse. The Wii Motion Plus. Just plug this little cube into the bottom of any Wiimote, and not only does it fix issues the base remote model had, but it also contains some new features too, like that! It'd be like if for the Switch, they'd released a new grip that completely got rid of drifting 3.5 years ago. But here's the thing, it's really hard to market a $20 square with features including, yeah, that too. So what better way to make people pick it up than release a sequel to the console's best-selling game that required one to use? Yes, what a better way to get money out of my dad than blackmailing him.
I can tell you that there will be one Wii Motion Plus accessory and extended jacket packaged with every Wii Sports Resort.
What do you mean there wasn't an affair? Yes, you could buy the Motion Plus separately, or you could just buy the game. This was a pretty generous thing for Nintendo to do. They could have easily made more money by not including it in the bundle because people would probably buy it anyway, but they really wanted to let everyone experience what these things could do. They even put them in later console bundles. That'd be like if Nintendo released that anti-drift grip in the next Mario game so people would shut up about it. 3.5 years ago! This game acted as a tech demo for the Motion Plus, introducing its precise motion tracking and explaining how the twisting edition does serve a purpose. But with that in mind, would this installment fall into the trap that so many tech demos before it had? Would it focus too heavily on the hardware aspect instead of creating a fun experience for all ages and experience levels to enjoy? Would a fitting title for it be Wii Sports Block? But enough about these hexahedrons, it's time for us to get into our next game. Wii Sports Resort. The Wii's third best-selling game, right under Mario Kart, and let me just say, it's gonna be really hard for me not to be biased on this one. This game was my childhood, doggett, but I'll try my best. Alright, we've got a lot of sports to cover, and I don't want this video to be any longer than it has to be, so I'm gonna go as fast as I can. Swordplay has 3 separate modes we're gonna have to cover, so let's just start with Duel. One of the best and most iconic sports in the collection. I'm very good at it. It being over water also makes it a very, very pretty sport, especially during the evening. Oh my gosh. I decided to grind out to pro and I still won because I'm just that good. On its own, it's probably a 10 out of 10, but we still have 2 other modes to cover. Speed Slice. While it seems easy at first, if you go too fast, you are bound to mess up. Also, you're trained by Matt in this mode, and he just has so much personality to him, it's great. But also, aren't these supposed to be plastic swords? Why can they cut through diamonds? This is where I first discovered that CPUs in this game determine their difficulty based off how well you are doing, and adapt to that instead of just being on a set course based on their skill level. It's not as good as Duel, but I still like it a lot. Only one mode left, a single player mode called Showdown. And I've actually played this one before, so I had a few of the maps unlocked, so I just picked up where I left off. This is the bloodiest game in all of Wii Sports. You just go on a rampage and kill so many innocent people, and it's so funny, it's so hilarious, I love it. The CPUs never actually get harder. There's just different kinds that have their own difficulty set, and the game decides how many to throw at you. Every stage has you running through a different part of the island, and you end up in the middle of the volcano, and that is just so cool. After easily beating it first try, I unlocked reverse courses, which are the same courses but in reverse. No thanks. So with all of these combined, I can't really see a good reason why not to give it a 10 out of 10. Next up is wakeboarding, which may not be the most popular, but it's definitely one of my favorites. Nothing too crazy, just trying to rack up a high score by doing cool tricks over waves. And it's on water, which automatically makes it beautiful. Like, do you see this? It's all smooth sailing until you unlock Expert Mode. Now you have to rack up points and do tricks while avoiding the constant obstacles in your way. I wish I knew about that sooner. It's called Expert Mode for a reason. It is really easy to just run into these obstacles without paying attention. But it really just boils down to either being on the right side at the right time or making sure not to do a trick with an obstacle right in front of you. While it can be frustrating, it is still a great time and looks like it would be a blast in real life. 9 out of 10. Next up we have Frisbee, which has 2 modes, starting with Frisbee Dog. And they said there wasn't a Nintendogs on Wii. You gotta throw the Frisbee into these rings and have your dog catch it. And that's all there is to it. Shouldn't be too hard, right? There's just one thing. Throwing the Frisbee is kinda hard. I swear I remember being able to do this effortlessly, but I just kept on messing up. And then it started dangling balloons in front of my face, and that somehow motivated me to do well. And then my dog did a crazy flip to catch the Frisbee. This is great. But I still missed more than I actually got in the circle, so that wasn't very fun. But maybe the next mode will make up for it. You've got to be kidding me. Frisbee golf? I want to die. It's golf, but with janky Frisbee mechanics. You should already know how I feel about this. The only redeeming quality this sport has is its cute dog. 5 out of 10. Next up is archery. All you gotta do is hit different targets positioned at different points on Woohoo Island. But my arms get tired quick from holding out the Wii remote, especially when I'm having to try to hold it straight to aim. But who cares about that target when you can go for the secret fruit targets instead? Are they worth it? Nope. Are they fun to go for? Yep. And just look at this. I don't even care that I missed. That was beautiful. It is a bit difficult in later stages because you have to go upwards, but you can't really tell how high you have to hold it. Overall, it's just kind of meh. 7 out of 10. Alright, what do we have next? Basketball! It has 2 modes, 3-point contest and pickup game. 3-point contest is pretty simple, just throw the ball into the hoop. That's it. But I don't really like how you have to go up and down to pick up the ball and shoot it over and over and over again. I think that somehow messes up the calibration because so many times the ball either went flying or I had to do a double take to pick up a ball. So let's move on to the better mode, pickup game. You have to pass the ball between your teammates to find the best way to make your shot. If you remember to. But watch out because the opposing team is going to try to stop you and intercept your ball. They're also going to try to block that perfect shot you lined up. Luckily, when they're trying to shoot, you can do the exact same thing to them. But steal it at the wrong time and you're going to fumble and fall over. If your opponent falls over, this gives you a chance to get past them and go for a slam dunk. This is super satisfying, unless the other team does it. In the end, the sport just comes down to timing and strategy. But 3-point contest kinda knocked it down a bit. 8 out of 10. Next up is table tennis, and I really have to pick up the pace. A normal match is kind of like tennis and Wii Sports, except it's a bit more tight because you have to land on the table, and you don't have a second player. And yes, everyone still tryhards. Look at this guy. Rolls to get it, fails anyways. But yeah, just like in real life, it's just tennis on a smaller scale. And also just like in real life, I like it a lot more. The second mode, Return Challenge, is pretty self-explanatory, just hit as many balls back as possible. And I don't know how, but it's way harder than a normal match. And the bonus soda cans you can hit don't really help either, because they're really hard to hit. I played this mode a few times to get the feel for it, but I couldn't resist leaving this as the high score. I think these sports deserve another 8 out of 10. I'm not even gonna say anything on this next one, it's just golf again, but with new maps. 4 out of 10. It's the same story for bowling, but I just gotta check. Oh, thank goodness. But now bowling has a few new side modes, like 100-pin bowling. I don't actually like this as much as normal bowling, but I did try to get the thing where you can knock down all the pins by hitting the secret switch, and failed miserably. But I really like the other new mode, spin control, where you have to spin your ball just right to get around obstacles. The better you do, the trickier it gets, with more obstacles being added. I even got a strike on an expert level,
The game punished me for it. This game did the impossible by actually making me line up my shots, and it is a welcome addition for doing so. Although this installment did improve upon it, I think this sport still remains an 8 out of 10. Next up is power cruising, which just kind of feels like a worse version of wakeboarding. Premise is pretty simple, you just have to use your Wii remote and nunchuck to steer through these rings before they disappear and rack up points. Why did I say that all in one breath? You can twist the Wii remote to accelerate, but make sure you aren't doing it while turning too much or else you're going right into the barrier. And good luck getting back on your feet because you have to use both remotes to steer, and the nunchuck literally feels like nothing. This gets even worse in later stages where you have to deal with big ol' waves too. These can really throw you off, especially if they hit you from the side. And then we have the other mode called Versus, which is 2 players only. What did I expect? This sport is not my favorite, but it's not bottom of the barrel either, so I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Next up is canoeing. Yep, it's as annoying as it sounds. All you gotta do is paddle your way over to the end goal before time runs out. Easy enough, right? Well, each time the goal gets further and further away, but your time stays the same, meaning you have to keep on getting faster and faster as each round continues. And having to constantly do your arms in an arc back and forth really gets tiring quick, which makes this very annoying to control. And its second mode is also versus, meaning I can't try it either. Overall, it's really just not the best sport. 5 out of 10. Second to last one, we have cycling. Let's get this out of the way, the second mode is versus again. This sport has you cycle around different parts of the island, and I really like how they show it. It has this cool like high-tech screen that maps out where you're going to. Really cool. The controls, on the other hand, are not really cool. You have to shake the Wii remote and nunchuck to speed up, but you can't shake them too much because then you're going to lose stamina. But you still got to shake them a little bit or else you're not going anywhere. But I didn't know how fast or how slow I'm supposed to shake them just to keep a steady pace. I'll admit, the concept of going on bike to all these landmarks on the island is a pretty cool concept, but I think a later sport executes it a lot better. But that's for later. By the end of the race, my arms were in shambles from having to shake the Wii remote and nunchuck so much. I did not want to do it again. This sport gets a 5 out of 10. And now our last couple of sports, the air sports, starting off with skydiving. This is actually how the game opens, and I think it's a really cool introduction to the game. Just imagine arriving to Woohoo Island like this, that'd be crazy. The goal is to hold hands with other skydivers to create a perfect picture. But something about the perspective and controls kind of makes it hard to tell where I am and how to get to another skydiver. Like if you go past one, it's really hard to go back and try to get them. After this, all the other skydivers form rings for you to go through, and if you go through them, you get to collect them for your final picture. And I immediately missed the first one, because it's really weird to control, I'm sorry. And after the final picture, everyone opens their parachutes and starts floating down onto the island. And that's it. And I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna go ahead and judge this side mode on its own. It's pretty basic and kinda hard to control, but it is just supposed to be a cinematic to open the game, so I'll go a bit easy on it and give it a light 5 out of 10 again. The reason I went ahead and judged it is because the next air sport is nothing like it. It is way better. You get to explore Woohoo Island on an airplane. No rails, no nothing. Just little eye points and balloons for you to collect. This is awesome. It's just a mini open world game crammed into the package, and it's filled with detail too. Like you can see whale watchers and find the whale they're trying to watch. And then you can find tennis courts and it explains why there's no tennis mode in the game. Just finding all these little eye points has become my main goal in life. But I'll admit, there are a few flaws. The controls aren't the best and it can be pretty hard to turn around if you missed an eye point. And why can I only explore for 5 minutes at a time? That's lame. But none of these criticisms outdo how great this game mode is. So much effort and thought went into it, it's just incredible. Easy 10 out of 10. But its versus mode is 2 players only, so I couldn't play it. 0 out of 10, I can't believe this. And that's every sport in Wii Sports Resort, and it only took me 12 minutes. Oh no.
And that was the last Wii Sports game on Wii, and I just gotta say, what a way to go out with a bang. These games were many people's first introductions to gaming and were great successes too. Together, they sold over 100 million copies. But nothing good can last forever, including the Wii. In late 2012, Nintendo released its next home console, the Wii U. And at last, the Wii was put to rest. Wait a minute. Wii U? Wii U? There might still be a chance. While the Wii U was an upgrade from the Wii with stronger hardware, HD graphics, and the Wii U gamepad, it was still compatible with Wii remotes, meaning that Wii Sports could definitely be made for this thing.
I'm trying to say how good of an idea Wii Sports on Wii U is. What do they put? Hey, what did you say about the GameCube earlier? I forgot.
Their current console, the GameCube, is their second lowest performing home console ever, and at that point was the biggest failure since their arcade days. If only they knew what the future held.
Wait, no.
Who could have seen this coming? The Wii U, for whatever reason, is Nintendo's worst selling home console ever made. Besides that thing. Some people say it's because of the terrible ads that felt more like sitcoms. Others say it's because of how weak it was compared to other consoles at the time. It also had a lacking lineup of games, and many thought it was just the gamepad and worked as an add-on to the Wii. Even the console's reveal trailer just calls it a new controller instead of new console. Also, they kill Miyamoto? His death was for nothing! It wasn't Wii Sports, but the Wii U did have a tech demo at launch. Nintendo Land. I would invite the kids across the road to play this thing at my house, and we always had a good time. I remember the Metroid game being our favorite to mess around with. But besides that, I don't really have any other fond memories of the game. Not that I hated it or anything, just that it wasn't a great game to play alone. It had single-player content, but it all paled in comparison to multiplayer. And as you've previously seen, I was having a great time playing sports without others in my vicinity. But what's even weirder is that in the Wii U's trailer, the original Wii Sports was shown off, but with some upgrades that made it HD and incorporated the gamepad. When the Wii U came out, this was nowhere to be seen. You couldn't even play it in HD. Well, that's because a year after the system's release, Nintendo released Wii Sports Club, a revamped version of the original Wii Sports in HD with gamepad features and online multiplayer? This seems like a great addition to the game. Now I can enjoy multiplayer without having anyone over. But this game is supposed to market toward a more casual crowd, and I highly doubt they care about anything more than a good time with their friends. I couldn't find the exact sales numbers anywhere, but it sold less than Mario Party 10, so it must have been doing something wrong. I'd love to start discussing the game, but here's the thing. I don't have a physical copy. I'd get one, but these things cost a pretty penny. Luckily, whoever previously owned my Wii U had the game ready to be downloaded, so I downloaded it, made sure it worked, and then decided to play it some other time. Then I was rewatching the announcement trailer, and noticed the digital version made you either buy a 24-hour pass, giving you access to all games for a day, or a game pass, which gives you access to any of the sports. Nintendo, why did you think this would work? If people want to play Wii Sports, they're probably just going to boot up the original instead of paying $50 to play it in HD, especially with the Wii U's backwards compatibility. And as much as I totally want to pay that kind of money, we all know the eShop closed in March of 2023, meaning I couldn't buy it. All seemed lost. But I kept on watching the trailer, and noticed that when you first open the game, you get one 24-hour pass free of charge. I checked the clock and realized I had 30 minutes until the pass ran out. So, after setting up recording, I just made do with the time I had. This was some months ago, so I didn't get any live action because I didn't know I was supposed to do that. But I'm still gonna voice over it, and I got some live action shots of some of the mechanics on the gamepad. How did they mess it up that bad? Like I said, this game is just a remake of the first, so it shouldn't take me too long to cover all these sports.
I decided to go out of order for some reason, so we're starting with baseball, and wow, they ruined that startup screen. In this game, you get to be taught how to swing the bat, and wow, how is it broken? I even recalibrated my remote and it was still messing up. It also feels a lot harder too. I don't know if it's the controls, but by the first change, I had not scored a single run. Speaking of the change, this is where the Wii U gamepad comes into play. The gamepad lets you aim where you want to throw the ball and how hard you want to throw it. I mean, sure? I guess it's better than swinging your arm, especially now because each kind of serve is mapped to a button. But now if your opponent hits a fly ball, you have to bring the gamepad up into the air to try to catch it, which is not fun to record. You have to align these two rings to make sure you get the ball, and if you do, easy out. But that's even if the game lets you. Sometimes it just does it for you, which I find kinda annoying. While the batting sucks, I do like pitching a bit better, so I'm gonna keep it a 6 out of 10. Next up, I went straight to golf, which is something I would never do. Am I sure I was the one playing this? It was the other sport that got gamepad integration. Now you can see the ball on another screen. This doesn't really help at all. Beyond that, you're not gonna believe this, it's still golf. 4 out of 10 for the 3rd time. Next up is boxing, and they took away nunchuck compatibility. Now you either have to use 2 Wiimotes or 1 Wiimote. And I didn't want to have to hook up another one because I only had 30 minutes. So one-handed it was, and oh boy did this feel weird. At least there's a better intro animation, I kinda like it. Loading in, I kinda thought this was gonna look a lot better than the one on Wii. Until I saw the punching animation. Is he trying to break a twig? Since I was playing in one-handed mode, I could only punch with my right hand, but instinct kept telling me to try to punch with my other too. While the graphics did look nicer, the animations just felt really stale and slow. It makes it feel more like a high school locker room fight than a boxing match. Also, you can now get randomly stunned. Cool. Okay, that animation's kind of funny. So while I like the environmental changes, I don't really like the gameplay changes. I'm bumping this down to a 7 out of 10. Bowling's basically the same, except now it has a 100-pin mode and spin control from Resort, and a few new strike animations. So just like in Resort, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Tennis was also pretty much untouched, but now the court looks a lot blander, so I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. And I finished just in time because now my trial was over and I could not play any of the sports. And while the sports weren't terrible or anything, I just don't think they do the original ones justice. Unsurprisingly, Club was the only installment on the Wii U. It didn't perform well, and with the console itself failing, Nintendo needed something new, and fast. So in 2017, just 4 years after the Wii U, the Nintendo Switch was released. Do I even need to introduce this thing? It sold over 130 million units, outselling the Wii and making it the 2nd highest selling home console of all time. And what did it release with? I got a bit of thread, a old button, a flattened penny from the Memphis Zoo, and if you aren't sold on that, I could also give you a really big leaf. In the US, the Switch launched with only 10 games, and half of them were digital only. The only reason anyone would want this at launch is if they were a diehard Nintendo fan, or just wanted to play Breath of the Wild. Just Dance 2017, sign me up! And yes, one of the launch titles was a tech demo. So let's see what's up. Oh, that's right. I sold my copy years ago. Want For Switch is a collection of 28 minigames that makes uses of the Switch's controllers, the Joy-Cons. Kinda reminds me of how Wii Sports used minigames to show off the Wii remotes. Why did I even sell my copy to begin? Uh-oh. Want For Switch is the kind of game you play once, maybe twice, and then never again. All of its minigames were extremely hollow, and most of them required multiple players. Compare this to Wii Sports, where playing with others is the best way to play, but there's still single-player content with the level system. While Want For Switch did do a good job of showing off the Switch's tech, it forgot the other aspect of being a tech demo: being fun.
My lips feel dirty just from talking about this game. Get it out of here. Already on it. Maybe Wii Sports just wasn't meant to be on the Switch. It is Wii Sports after all. Nintendo probably wanted to retire it and have a fresh palette for the Switch. Plus, Nintendo was using Mii's less and less. You have to go into system settings just to make one. 4 years went by after the launch of the Switch. No Wii Sports, no Mii's. All hope was lost. But then, we got this.
Who will join you in your adventure? Hint, anyone can.
A port of a 3DS game that starred Mii's. They're alive. The game even added more in-depth customization for Mii's, making it the most detailed Mii maker ever. Mii's were back in the spotlight. This meant that there was a chance for a Wii Sports on Switch, but it's been 4 years since the console's launch. Why would Nintendo release a tech demo this late into the system's lifespan? That'd be stupid, especially if they're going to wait another year.
It's a new iteration of the Wii Sports series.
I'm gonna cry. When I saw Nintendo Switch Sports dance on the screen, I blipped. Nintendo was finally acknowledging this series again, albeit a bit late. But Wii Sports? On Switch? This thing's mere existence breaks every law in the universe. Let's keep watching. Oh! Nintendo, you fools! In this game, Mii's are not the main characters. You can use them, but they are not heavily focused on in the marketing or trailers. Instead, we have the sports mates. Are we sure Nintendo developed this game? Mii's have been a staple of not just the Wii Sports series, but the entire Wii series as a whole. Wii Sports, Wii Music, Wii Play, yada yada. To be fair, this isn't technically a Wii series game. As the trailer says, it's a new iteration of the Wii Sports series. But that doesn't mean you can't use Mii's. These guys are Nintendo's most iconic customizable characters. You can't just replace them with these plastic purebred pinheads. These things are the most unoffensive, marketable things ever. The Mii's? Let's just say you probably shouldn't ask them what their favorite joke is. But whatever, that's just a nitpick. What about the sports themselves? The game launched with 6, with a promise for more to be released later. It's been over a year and they've only released 1. But enough beating around the bush. Seriously, I just talked for way too long. It's time to review what might be the final Wii Sports game and see if it knows how to go out with a bang. Spoiler alert, the answer is no. Here we are, the final game, and man, this has never felt so corporate. Yes, this game does have good graphics, but it's not as pretty as the natural scenery of Wii Sports Resort. It just feels too businessy and tacky. Now with that out of the way, I can actually start discussing the sports. Starting up, we have volleyball. In this mode, you're paired up with an AI teammate. You do not control both characters, so you are very reliant on this teammate. Which is weird, because sometimes I'll do everything right, but they'll mess up so I'll get punished for it, and then sometimes I won't do anything and they'll score. It's pretty clear they just took multiplayer mode and replaced the second player with an AI instead of really polishing this out to have a good single player mode. And you're probably thinking, oh, just invite someone over to play with you if it's so annoying. Have you ever tried inviting someone to play Nintendo Switch Sports with you? Come on, pick up.
Hey man, what's up?
Hey, can you come by later today and play Nintendo Switch Sports with me? Hello? And by the way, all of the new sports in this mode are way more complicated than past sports. Like this one, you have to know what move to do at the right time and how to do it, and you have to use a joystick to position yourself, which is weird because there's no indication to where they're gonna spike the ball to, so have fun guessing! And this is how the other team scored most of their points, which is pretty aggravating. So while the game feels fine to control, that doesn't mean it's a fun game to play. But compared to later sports, it's at least tolerable, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Next up is badminton, another over-the-net sport. But unlike volleyball, it uses a more advanced motion control system. You can also do a drop shot, which sends the birdie closer to the net. Not that it really helps. It's pretty simple, just hit the birdie back and forth, but if you mess up, your character falls to the ground, takes 2 seconds to get up, and your opponent gets a super fast shot, so they just win automatically. Controls-wise, just like volleyball, it wasn't buggy or hard to figure out, but it felt like I was missing something because my opponent kept on hitting fast shots time after time after time. But maybe it's just a skill issue, because I definitely was not good at this one. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Bowling time. Surely they couldn't mess up bowling. Ooh, they have spin control. Maybe they didn't mess up bowling. But I don't know, some of these obstacles are kinda lame. Like this one, that's just a bridge. And the physics also feel slightly off. Like the pins seem heavier than normal. Instead of going flying like in past entries, they just kind of fall over. And the new strike animation, what a snooze fest. I also don't know if there's a set difficulty for each obstacle, and if so, the game does not tell you this. Oh my gosh, I just realized I forgot to test the backwards throw Easter egg in Wii Sports Club. Let's see if they have it here. What? I can't believe they took bowling, what I found to be one of the more impressive sports in previous collections, and just turned it meh. 7 out of 10. Let's go ahead and get golf out of the way. It was free DLC and released with Classic, Resort, and Special courses. But I don't care, so I chose Random. And I was shocked to see this game actually gave golf a tutorial. And it was a good one too. Coming out of it, it really felt like I understood some of the mechanics now. I should have known it wouldn't change. 4 out of 10, as per usual. Next up we have tennis. No, badminton didn't replace it. It's a completely different sport in the package. Just like in bowling, the physics feel a bit off. The ball doesn't seem to be as heavy as it was in the original, making it easier to accidentally put a spin on it and send it out of bounds. But besides that, it's just tennis. 6 out of 10. Next up is Chambara. There are 3 different kinds of swords to use, but I just kept it classic and used a normal sword. At first, everything seemed okay. Maybe I was actually gonna get a decent sport out of this package, but then I tried to break my opponent's shield. You can see that I swing diagonally, but my character slashes vertically, so I get blocked. Another case of motion controls getting messed up. Who could have seen this coming? But now that I know I can't reliably attack, I just end up shielding until my opponent tries to attack me. But the AI always knows where it's gonna hit, and it's my job to counter that. As boring as it is, just holding your shield for the whole game is the only way of winning. That's when I remembered that if you put in a secret code on the launch screen, you can bring back the Miis. Hallelujah. But this isn't just an aesthetic change, these are the hardest CPUs in the game. Allegedly. So as much as I want to love this game as much as I did back in Resort, the faulty motion controls are gonna make me bump it down to just a 7 out of 10. And now it's time for soccer, the last and most out-of-place sport in the collection. I say this because motion controls are barely implemented here. You run with a joystick, jump with a button, the only thing motion controls are used for is kicking the ball. But oddly enough, this new control scheme kinda makes me like this sport a lot more. And the devs are obviously not used to coding this kind of AI, so you can easily intercept them once you get used to it. It's pretty obvious the devs took a lot of inspiration from Rocket League, just making it slower and tighter. But also, if your opponent kicks the ball too high, there's nothing you can do to stop it. You just have to watch it slowly enter the goal. You can try sprinting to get the ball, but most of the time the ball's either going faster than you or you're too far away to stop it. If either side gets 2 points ahead, a golden ball appears, which is worth 2 points, basically determining the outcome of the game, like this one almost did. While it was a fun sport to play, it doesn't really fit in with the rest and can be hard to understand for newer players, but still, 8 out of 10.
And like I said before, this might be the last Wii Sports game we get. It's only been a year since its release, so we haven't gotten time for a sequel, but I don't think there's any reason we get another one of these on Switch. If anything, we'll get another update with a new game. But who knows, maybe for the Switch 2 we'll get a Switch Sports 2, or a Switch 2 Sports. That would not sell well. But hey, I'm just glad that I'll never, ever have to talk about this thing again. Wait, why is it a box?
I really don't want to use this thing. What's that? Oh, you want me to use the leg strap? What do you call this then,
Let's get this over with. This is the Switch's leg strap. Originally from the game Ring Fit Adventure, which is like the Switch's version of Wii Fit, but it's an actual game. I never bought this. For one, it's way too expensive, and two, where am I gonna keep this big ol' ring? In Switch Sports' physical release, this thing came bundled in. What was it used for? A side mode in soccer. That's it. This release cost $10 more than the digital one, and you couldn't just buy the game only. Whether you like it or not, you were getting a leg strap. It reaches us all eventually. The game eventually got an update allowing it to be in soccer's normal mode, but at that point nobody cared. It really should have just been in the base game. This thing has been haunting me over the past year, and now it's time for me to put myself out of misery by throwing myself into it. This is the Nintendo Switch Sports leg strap experience.
To be honest, I thought it was going to be a lot harder to put this thing on, but it was easier than I expected. Except I was supposed to put it on the upper side of my leg. Whoopsie. Shootout, the strap's signature mode, is basically just saying who can score the most goals. But it's hard because you're using a leg strap. This mode also gives you a golden ball if you get behind, but it doesn't really matter because it gives it to your opponent too. Where's the fairness in that? After a bit of playing around, I realized that if you kick to the side instead of straight forward, the ball will pretty much always go into the middle of the goal. Not that it mattered, because my opponent just kept on stretching out the match and my leg cannot handle that forever. This mode might be fun with friends, but do you really want to keep on taking the leg strap on and off again? And I cannot stress this enough, you had to pay $10 extra for this at launch. 3 out of 10. But let's not forget that later in the year you could use it in normal soccer as well. So I was expecting the only difference to be that you had to kick instead of swing your Joy-Con. That makes sense, right? But then I realized, now you don't have to play the game at all. I soon realized that AI will control your movement and jumping for you. All you can control now is if you sprint and when you kick. You can try to fight against it and it will let you, but it's obvious this mode was not built for that. Another annoying thing about this AI is that it controls where you kick. You have no say in the matter, and sometimes its decisions can be less than optimal. If I was gonna win, I would have to get out of these big floppy house shoes that kept on falling off. So I'd put down the controller and got some socks on, and I was ready to rumble. This was a battle not just against my opponent, but also against the AI controlling me, which sounds like a sci-fi novel, not a review of Nintendo Switch Sports. But luckily, I was able to use the golden ball to tie the score with less than 20 seconds left on the clock. And having played against this same AI model for the past half hour, I knew exactly what to do. I was able to score the winning goal and fend them off until time was over. And finally, the nightmare was over. I give it a I never want to play this game again out of 10.
And now with that out of the way, it's pretty clear that the Wii Sports series should have never left the Wii console. The first two's purposes were to show off the capabilities of the Wii and the Wii Motion Plus, but the last two, well, they had online multiplayer. Nintendo saw the success of the first game, not realizing it was due to being bundled in with the console, then put actual effort into a sequel, which allowed it to sell well. Then they didn't put an ounce of effort into the next two. It's Wii Sports, it'll sell. And the worst part? They're right! I unironically bought this on launch day. Unironically. But it could be because of a flaw in my testing method. I'm playing in single player. Sure, online multiplayer is in Switch Sports and Club, but A, Clubs is getting taken away soon, but more importantly, B, online multiplayer can't capture the same magic of playing one of these games in the room with someone. Many reviews say Switch Sports is a good multiplayer game only, and I can see where they're coming from. Just being able to see your friends' exaggerated movements, laughing over mistakes made, and gawking at just how good your dad is at bowling really adds to the experience. Sometimes you just have to invite someone over to play. Just don't try to pull up Sports Club, that thing's irredeemable. And like I said before, these games are extremely easy to understand, so hey, why not give Grandma another chance?
Get up, Grandma. Get up!
But out of all of these, Wii Sports Resort was definitely my favorite. Even as a kid, I would brush past the original and go right into Resort. While my favorite sport was obviously plane exploration, I still sunk lots of time into wakeboarding. So what if I could do that in real life? I packed my bags and drove a few hours to the nearest lake, only to discover that they only had water skis. Close enough. I suited up, jumped in, and let my friends film the rest.
Oh shoot, he's doing it, he's doing it!
I'm gonna win! Yeah, let's go, win! No!
And now I can say I've played Wii Sports in real life.